Welcome back. The Ontario election is less than 7 weeks away. It's widely seen as a referendum on Kathleen Wynne's Liberal government or the Conservative opposition led by Doug Ford, who's leading in the polls. But is there a third way with the NDP's Andrea Horwath? Remember, 28 years ago, an unpopular Liberal government, a PC party with a brand new leader, and Ontario voters turned to Bob Rae and the New Democrats for the first and only time in the province's history. Could lightning strike again? Joining us now from Queen's Park in Toronto is NDP leader Andrea Horwath. Ms. Horwath, thank you for joining us. The polls say that you are personally more popular than either Ms. Wynne or Mr. Ford, but your party lags behind you. What is the biggest hurdle for you to persuade Ontario voters beyond that first 20–25% to vote NDP?
Well, I mean, I think people have a big choice ahead of them. Lots of folks are saying that Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals are not going to continue to govern this province. So then there's a choice that people have. And I believe that the New Democrats and myself bring a choice for change for the better. Mr. Ford is going to drag this province backwards, and people have to make that decision. And I think that when they see our message that things don't have to be the same way as they have been for a long time, you don't have to keep switching between Liberals and Conservatives, between bad and worse. You can have hope for the future of this province. I think, will be looking at us very seriously.
That sounds like you're already trying to set up a dynamic where it is you versus Doug Ford. If you could just push Kathleen Wynne aside. We saw that your platform calls for more deficits. Is that also a way of not letting the Liberals outflank you on the left the way that the NDP was outflanked in the federal election 3 years ago?
Well, you know, I think first and foremost, Kathleen Wynne has already pushed herself aside. I mean, I don't think that that there are many Ontarians who are happy with Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals. I think that's pretty clear. And so now the choice is between, I really do believe that, between myself and Mr. Ford. And, you know, there are some, certainly some things in our platform that Liberals will say they have in their budget as well. But the difference is we believe everybody deserves pharmacare, not just folks who are below the age of 25 and above the age of 65. We think dental care actually needs to be available for people, not just a rebate or a refund for services that people can't afford in the first place. So we're excited about our platform because not only does it provide these things that people need and that will help make life better for folks, but we also show how we will pay for it. Unlike Kathleen Wynne and unlike Doug Ford, we believe the wealthiest amongst us and the most profitable corporations are going to have to help us to pay for these services. And they are not interested at all in asking their wealthy friends to pay a little bit more.
I traveled on the campaigns with Bob Rae and David Peterson back in 1990. You really didn't see the change coming until very late in the campaign. Do you see a tipping point that would have to come, say, late in the campaign and maybe not immediately, that will move this and move you into a position to be able to actually win?
Well, I mean, I'm not so sure that I have the crystal ball. I don't know that anybody does. But what I can tell you is I'm proud of our platform. I know that families out there are having a hard time. I know that people are not filling their prescriptions. I know that people are worried about the state of our long-term care system. They want hydro to be back in public hands. They want to make sure our hospitals don't have people lined up in stretchers for days on end in a situation that lacks privacy, that lacks dignity. These are things that we can fix. These are problems that Kathleen Wynne has created. And look, Doug Ford and his cuts, they're not going to fix those problems.
Kathleen Wynne has described Doug Ford as Donald Trump North, that he's a bully and he's bringing smear tactics to Canada. Do you agree with her?
Well, you know what? Those two can fight amongst themselves and get down into the mud. I'm going to be focused on what I think can change for the better in Ontario, and that's what our platform's all about, and that's what I'm all about as a leader. I think government should be about putting the people at the heart of every decision you make and using public dollars and the public purse, if you will, to make life better for Ontarians, and that's where I'm going to stay focused.
One of the issues that arises is a split of the vote in the progressive vote, let's say. And if that were to happen, it's possible that you could then see out of that not just a Conservative government, but a Conservative majority government. What would that mean for progressive voters?
Well, I think that that's the story that's played out in a couple of past elections. But this time, Kathleen Wynne and the Liberals are already, a party that people don't want to have governing the province anymore. I mean, people don't want Kathleen Wynne as the Premier anymore. I believe folks have already made that decision. That's certainly what people are telling me on the ground, what I'm hearing everywhere I go. And so that dynamic is not the same this time around. It's quite a different scenario, and people are not looking at Kathleen Wynne as the Premier. There's going to be a new Premier in the Premier's chair come June 7th, and that decision has to be made. Is it going to be myself, or is it going to be Doug Ford?
We shall see. Andrea Horwath in Toronto, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Take care.
And that's our show for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Eric Sorensen. See you next week.